Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everybody, and welcome to Pangolin, the Conservation Podcast, the show dedicated to exploring and amplifying the world's underappreciated conservation stories. The stories that inspire me, and I hope will inspire you too. I'm your host, Jack Baker, and thank you for joining me once again. We're back again for the first episode of Season 6. It feels so good to finally be back, and I cannot wait to show you the amazing lineup of guests that we have. We've got wolves, we've got invertebrates, more invertebrates than ever before. I'm so excited. We've got all sorts of wonderful surprises, and I'm so excited for you to hear them all. To kick things off though, in this first episode, I am joined by Rae Landriau. She's here to discuss her amazing work raising awareness of climate change and conservation issues using really unique, brave, bold, creative methods. We chat all about her Pollinating Positivity Project, the River Aware Challenge, and Climate Connections Zine. Plus, we talk all about her latest project, Colouring for Conservation. We also have some really great and open conversation about why we found ourselves drawn into nature as kids and how eco-anxiety impacts us, which, to kick off this season, I'm so glad that Rae was so open and willing to kind of share her experiences, and I kind of share a little bit about mine, and it felt like a really nice conversation, and I hope you all appreciate it and gain something from it. It's just a really good chat. I should also say that when this was recorded, the Colouring for Conservation book that we talk about was yet to be released. But now it is out and it is fabulous. I have my own copy. It's brilliant. I'll post photos of it all over Instagram. So make sure to head to social media and follow us and Create Change Collective and all of it. And I'll post it and you'll share it. I'll share it. And you need to go and see it because it's truly fantastic. And please support Rae in everything she does. It's brilliant. But that is enough for me. Welcome to Season 6. Without further ado, let's get started. And welcome back to the show. I am now joined by Rae Landriau, the founder of Create Change Collective, and somebody who I met last year in Tucson, Arizona, and who I can vouch for, before we even get into this conversation, for as being as a wonderful, amazing, colourful, exciting, amazing person to speak to. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited that you're finally here after knowing you for a year. I can't believe you're here. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me. I saw the message come in and I was like, I'm so honored that people are thinking of me for these speaking opportunities. It's lovely collab.
Oh, I'm glad it was that and not, well, it's taken him enough time to ask. Like oh no, I knew I wanted to chat to you, and I think I said this to one of my other guests that I had on recently, where it's like I think scan conferences and whenever I go to things, I'm looking for interesting, amazing people who do amazing things, and you definitely tick all of those boxes. So I was like, I have to ask you eventually. So thank you so much for joining me today. And now I have built you up, I think, now in an impossible way that I'm going to ask you an impossible question, which is, could you introduce yourself to the listeners? Could you tell them a little bit about yourself and what you do and who you are?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think I'll live up to the expectation, but we can try. So I wear many hats, but actually no hats because it messes up my hair, which is a little fun bit about me. So I'm a master's student currently at Carleton University in Ottawa. And I study how contaminants are migrating from drilling waste disposal sites that were abandoned into surrounding soil and water bodies in the Western Arctic in Canada. So I get to work right by the Arctic Ocean and beautiful landscapes. I get to do fun activities with our community members, the Inuvialuit primarily. And then in my free time, quote unquote, because you have so much free time when you're doing a master's. I run Create Change Collective. I also work for Youth Climate Lab, which is a global nonprofit which really
Hmm.
focuses on getting youth into environmental spaces, giving them skills, developing their skills so that they can feel confident going into these like seemingly very intimidating spaces and like
Hmm.
advocating for issues that they're passionate about. And we also like run a program called RAD, which stands for Research Activate Deepen. And my job in
Hmm.
that cohort is to give 30 youth funding and the tools and skills to be able to implement community engagement projects, which is
Hmm.
basically everything I do with Create Change Collective. I'm a little goblin hunter on the internet looking for funding for everything. I'm like, yes, please, so I can do stuff with people and actually pay them. Um, and that's just like all of my side projects. Got a few other jobs too here and there. I get to do some like
Hmm.
graphic design work on the side, which I love to do. Yeah, and so those are the things that like usually keep me pretty busy. So
I would say pretty busy is an understatement there. Yep. No, it's amazing, and I think like you do. I think I see like a lot of myself in you because before we like started recording, we were talking about this thing of like I think you're the same as me in that you say yes to every opportunity that comes up. And sometimes that can be a good thing. Sometimes that can be like a stressful thing, but I never ever regret it in the end because I'm always like, it's worth it. All the like running around, worth it.
definitely, and I would say that like you were saying earlier, like I'm gonna say yes to things now so that
Hmm.
like in 10 years people are still gonna keep asking me to do stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And especially when
Hmm.
there's like momentum on it, like heck yeah, will I be stressed? But I also feel like I'm in an environment where, like, no matter what, the stress is going to be there. Like, I'm going to be
Hmm.
stressed about my master's, I'm going to be stressed about work.
Hmm.
Is doing something that I'm passionate about that's going to give me some joy. Maybe it'll be a little stressful with time management, but like in the long term, it's worth it because you're really not adding that much
Hmm.
more stress. But you get to do something you love, you know? So it's worth it, even if it's like
Yeah.
a little crazy busy at times.
I remember like when I was doing my undergrad, my parents were always like, "You should really like stop doing some of the jobs and things that you do because you're so like you don't need necessarily this, that, or the next thing." I'm like, "But those are the bits that I actually enjoy. It's the degree and the other stuff that I have to do that's the stressful bit. The rest of the work, love it. Like it's ridiculous, but it's like, yep. Um, no, I think that's no. It's so exciting to kind of talk to you, because yeah, we have that same thing, and it gives us so much to talk about. I think like I've got a lot of questions about Create Change Collective, and I think like some of the other experiences obviously will come up as part of that. And so yeah, I'm very excited to see what you have to say to all of my questions. But before we get into that, I think like something I've been asking a lot of people recently, because I think it's really interesting to think about, especially when I have guests from like around the world, when I have people from like I'm sat here in Scotland and talking to you like halfway, it feels like halfway around the world. It's like all these things I feel like I should ask, like what got you into nature, because I like to know how we all ended up in this same bubble and sphere. So what was it for you that kind of got you into this space? Was it that busyness, you like to be busy and you saw ways to be busy? Or was it like I just love being outdoors and like this sort of like what was it for you?
Yeah, so I was a bit of a weird kid. I definitely had like
Hmm.
all of the signs of like massive social anxiety and just anxiety
Hmm.
in general. And my parents were like, this kid's just quirky. And it was like, okay, like you're not wrong, but like you're not right. And so I found myself
Hmm.
like playing alone at recess, like sitting in
Hmm.
the grass. And then a good friend of mine, she and I would like go out on our bikes, and I live right by the green belt, which is like this
Hmm.
conservation land in Ottawa. So we would just go like biking for hours and then like sit in a tree, and then I'd go
Hmm.
swim every single day all summer. And so like just being in nature was like the way that I dealt with like being alone because I found it so
Hmm.
intimidating to make friends. So I was like,
Hmm.
everybody's gonna think I'm weird and crazy and just like so anxious, but like nobody caught on until I was like a teenager, like a decade plus later.
Hmm.
But like being in nature was one of those things where like I could actually like be calm. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because in my like last year of high school, I applied to a few different programs for university. And the
Mm-hmm.
one that I was looking at was biochemistry because it was like, well, I like biology, I like chemistry, biochemistry, just put the two of them
Mm-hmm.
together. It'll be perfect. And then, like a week before the deadline to accept my offer, I saw that you had to take two physics classes, and I'd never taken physics in my like entire high school life. I was like, I didn't need it in
Mm-hmm.
grade 11 or in grade 12, and now in university they want me to take physics 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
I like can't do this. Like I need to find a
Mm-hmm.
different program right now. And I saw that the environmental science program, you only had to take one physics, and so I was like, this is perfect. I like nature. This is fine. Let's just go here.
Fair.
Because I couldn't even fathom like having to take two physics courses at a university level. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's like when I was doing my undergrad at the University of Ottawa is when I actually saw like nature's super cool, and not just because I can like sit and be calm in it, but it's also like look at all this stuff that's happening that is so interesting that like
Mm-hmm.
nobody had ever sat me down and taught me before.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of fell in love with geology and rocks, and then ended up here at Carleton along the way. So it all worked out, but definitely because I was a weird kid.
Fair. And I think that's maybe not the answer we get from most of the guests, but it's probably the honest answer for a lot of people is like they didn't feel like they belonged around a lot of like busyness or people or whatever. And I think it's something that, yeah, I relate to of this like, like I don't know how to phrase it in a way that doesn't sound terribly sad, but like that way where you're like I sometimes just needed peace and quiet, and like that way where and if you were in a room full of people and all of this busyness and cars in the street and this that and the next thing, it was so nice to escape to somewhere that was just quiet and peaceful and you could disappear and walk and realize like how little sometimes your own problems were compared to like the big wonderful wild world around us. So I kind of it was like a nice like safe space, I think. So yeah, it's a yeah, and I think that's a lot. It's a relatable story for a lot of people, I think. A lot of people. um but yeah, it's really interesting, especially how it developed from this like comfort space into, as we've just talked about, a slightly stressful space but a very passionate space as well. So no, it's really exciting, and it's nice to hear, I guess, about the fact that like yeah, I think sometimes I have guests and they say I always knew that this was going to be the career, and it's interesting to hear. Well, actually, I didn't think this was going to be my thing, and then it accidentally did. Like it's very yeah.
Yeah, not at all. Like as a kid, I for a brief period wanted to be a vet because I love
Mm-hmm.
dogs. And then somebody told me like, "Oh, you're going to have to like put down a dog if you
Yeah,
are a vet." And I was like,
yeah.
"I could never do that." Like even the thought makes me want to cry even as an adult. Um and then when I was 9ish years old, I fell in love with baking, and this show like Cake Boss on TLC with like Buddy Valastro, I was like, I'm gonna be the next Cake Boss. Like I just loved to bake. And it wasn't until I got to like high school that somebody told me like being an entrepreneur is really hard, and I like looked
Mm-hmm.
into it and I was like, oh my god, this looks like so much work and time and energy and effort. I'm happy to work for somebody else, but like where do
Mm-hmm.
I want to go?
Mm-hmm.
So it just so like happened that I fell into these spaces. And I also think it's like really funny how you're talking about like nature as like a quiet space and somewhere to like de-stress, because I hate like listening to music when I go for a walk because I
Mm-hmm.
want to hear the sounds around me, and people think
Yeah.
that's crazy. They're like, how come you're not listening to a podcast or to music? Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't you enjoy these things? But like when I'm outside, like I just want to take it all in. Like I want to hear
Mm-hmm.
the sound of the leaves rustling. I want to hear the squirrels that are eating apart the pine cones. Like I love all of
Mm-hmm.
that noise. Um, which not everybody takes time to listen to. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the one time I'm ever going to say this, listeners. If you're in nature now, stop listening to the podcast. I will never say this again. Stop listening to the podcast. Take your headphones out and just try walking for 10 minutes or something without any noise. And then come back and finish the podcast. But it's amazing what you'll notice when you're not got the headphones in all of the time. But I guess that raises a question that I was going to ask you, which is you were kind of talking about how entrepreneuring sounds hard. It sounds like something I, I don't want to do that. And then we come to Create Change Collective, which is current like your kind of big project that you along well, one of your big projects and one of the plates that you're spinning. And you are very much the founder behind that. You are very much the driving force behind that. So when could you tell us a little bit about it? And I guess where the shift happened when you were like, actually, maybe I can do this by myself. Like when was that kind of what is it first of all? And yeah, when did that shift happen?
What is it? That's a great question. Like, I think it's an understatement to say that it's like just a platform. I think it's
hmm
more than that. Like, I do think it is like a community based
hmm
organization because I work with community members, do workshops with them. Um,
hmm
but it really started out as like a place for me to put all of my passion projects. So I was a part of the first rad cohort with Youth Climate Lab. And
hmm
as like part of our project, me and the person I was working with developed like a conscious consumption guide and like post series of like talking about food sovereignty in Canada, issues with food security, and just like generally diving in of like what's going on with like food access in Canada and like how can we be a
hmm
bit more equitable. Um, and so I was sitting with the idea for a while of like maybe I should make a platform to like put all of these things. And I was also involved with Ocean Wise's Ocean Bridge program. And in that I
hmm
was like, oh, like I'm gonna make a book. So and I don't want to just like post all of this onto my social media because I feel like
hmm
that would like very much so annoy the people who follow me, being like, why are you doing all of these things all the time?
hmm
Please settle down. And I didn't just want to have like a secondary public Instagram that was like all about
hmm
me because that didn't feel like a great space either. So
hmm
I came up with it kind of as like a needs thing of like,
Uh-huh.
where can I put all of these projects so that it'll be in one place, but then also like be a place where others can collaborate with me because I think especially in the environmental sector like we have so many people working in silos of like
Mhm.
doing work over here, doing work over there, but like all really under the same umbrella. So it's like,
Mhm.
how can I foster these collaborations and connections in one area? So it started as an Instagram. And then I learned how to make a website. So now there's a website and an email address, and it's become so much more. But it was really just like, I need a spot to put all of this. So I guess I have to make something.
Fair. I like necessity rather than necessarily. Like, but like I think What is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. Of like you have to do it to get you the things that you want to do. And look what has happened since then is, like it's taken off. All of these projects have happened, and so much more has happened from the like inception of like just it's amazing how like what would be considered just an Instagram account, air quotations happening for listeners, but like just an Instagram account builds into so much more is really, really interesting and exciting. Like, yeah, it must have been strange when you first started it. Like when did it become more than that Instagram account for you?
Oh, that's an excellent question. I think it was when I applied for like my first grant that
Uh
was like
huh.
not associated with a program I'd done. So like
Yeah.
Ocean Wise's like Ocean Bridge program, like they give you a set amount of money and you can ask for more. I think at the time it was like
Yeah.
500 and I asked for a bit more than that to be
Mm-hmm.
able to publish my book. Um and then it was like, "Oh, I can do this stuff." And like
Mm-hmm.
it's not as scary as I thought it was. So then it started to really become a thing when I was like applying
Mm-hmm.
to more grants and then looking for more grants to do things with.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of just exploded at one point, and I was like, oh my goodness. Like, there's people who are actually contacting me on the contact page of my website. Like, I wasn't ready for that. I put it there because I thought it looked professional. So
mm-hmm.
it's like interesting to see how it all kind of like played out.
That's it's really really interesting, and it's yeah, I love it. I love like, and I think it's funny to see because it's similar with like Pangolin and how it was just like, oh, it was a uni project. I'll maybe post it on Spotify, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, people want to listen to me or talk to me or appear on this show.
Six
Okay, oh,
seasons
6 seasons
later.
in, you, yep. Almost, I think we're over 100 episodes now. Something like 80 guests, amazing charities that I've loved for my entire life, and like it's this weird like moment, and so it's yeah, it's that moment, yeah, of going, oh, we did something here. Like this is really strange. But no, it's so exciting, and I think like to not make this about me and keep it on you. I think your project is so filled with good ideas, and I think like that's kind of where it came from and maybe where it started. And I think obviously we can talk a bit more about some of the projects and things that it's helped to do, like and like beyond Instagram in real life. Things have happened in real life, everyone. And like it's yeah, and even beyond a contact page, these things lead to real action. So we can talk a little bit about some of those projects. But before we do, I was kind of like on your website having a look around, and there's a really nice phrase that I kind of picked up on that I think is a really good way of kind of talking about what you do. And I just wanted to ask where it came from, which is educate, engage, grow. I think is a really like fun, like clever, good, nice, short mission. And I wondered like how that came about and yeah, what was behind that and how that feeds into the work that you do.
Yeah. Um it kind of just stemmed from like an idea one day. I saw it was like
Mm-hmm.
National Environmental Educators Day or like National Educators Day, and I was like, really, all of my projects, as much as I like to think there's something separate, like the common thread between all of them is
Mm-hmm.
educating people about these issues. And
Yeah.
I think it's really critical to do that because people will protect what they care about. And like, how do you
Mm-hmm.
get somebody who's like in a concrete jungle of a city to care about nature? Like, you need to
Mm-hmm.
educate them about it. Like, you need to stop
Mm-hmm.
saying, like, the woods is this super scary place. You can't go for a walk by yourself. You know,
Mm-hmm.
with precautions, with safety measures in place, of course. But like demystifying that of like it doesn't need
Mm-hmm.
to be this huge thing that's like so intimidating.
Yeah.
And like the way that we make things less intimidating is by talking about it and by teaching someone about it. Um, so that's where educate came from. And then really like the engage and grow was more so about like personal development, I guess, of like
Mm-hmm.
the people that I want to engage with my projects. Like I want them to like actually take interest in them. Like I want them to do the activity book. I want them to
Yeah.
like participate with me in a workshop. Like I want them to get the most out of it. And you're only going to
Mm-hmm.
get that through like actually engaging with the material, and
Yeah.
then it's all for growth as like individuals, and then hopefully like growing together as we work towards this common goal, because I think
Mm-hmm.
again like we don't need to work in silos. We all are super interconnected. All of the issues that we're really talking about are
Yeah.
all interconnected as well, so like let's grow for ourselves but then also grow as a collective.
Mm-hmm. That's yeah. That I really like. Yeah, I really really like it, especially that part of like because I think sometimes people see environmental things as like a burden almost of like, oh, now I have to do the recycling, or I have to take time out of my day to do this, or I have to take time out of my day to do that. But I kind of, and yes, sometimes you do have to take time, but I think it's a lot of it is like skill building, personal building, like all of these things. And if you frame it correctly, which is like that, as like you are growing as a person, you are growing as like people wouldn't don't question the time that it takes or question the like things that they have to do. Like it becomes yeah, just a part of their existence, and it makes it a more healthy relationship with everything that they're doing. So I think it's a really nice way of phrasing it is that like it's not a burden. It's something that allows you to also thrive alongside the environment is a really nice way of thinking about it. Really, really nice.
Yeah, and I would also say like people don't know what they don't know. So like people
Yeah.
don't know about like the issues that our planet is facing when they're like worried about work or worried about the next
Yeah.
thing on such an individual level. And so having a place where we can like connect with each other and then like connect to like the larger systems that we're a part of,
Hmm.
and like really take time and be intentional about that, I think is so critical, which is why like education huge advocate for it. Get people out in the
Yeah.
forest, get them hugging trees. It's wonderful. Big fan.
Yeah.
So definitely very, very important for this work.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is the perfect segue into, well, how do we get people doing things? Well, you and Create Change Collective and all of these other projects that you work on have done this in a huge number of ways. And I think like I've written down some of the ones that kind of like stood out to me on the website and things of like things that Create Change Collective has done to enable this growth and like get people involved. And I wondered if we could chat about some of them. And like if there's any that I have missed that you're particularly passionate about, we can touch on those as well. But I guess like the first one that I think we've touched on, like you've mentioned a couple times already, was the kind of activity book that you kind of published, the Running Water activity book. And like, could you tell us a little bit about that? And like, yeah, what was the inspiration? What did it do? Like, yeah, what was going on there?
Yeah, so this was probably like the biggest project run to
Mm-hmm.
date. It still is like huge. So I was a part of a program called Ocean Bridge that's run by
Mm-hmm.
Oceanwise, and I was in the St. Lawrence cohort. So we did like a 10-day remote learning journey. We all got together, learned about the issues that our waterways were facing. So we got to go to Tadoussac, Quebec, which is like
Mm-hmm.
a few hours from Montreal, and learn about the water there and connect with the people there as well. And through that program, you are supposed to develop a community engagement project. And somebody
Mm-hmm.
had spoken to me. They were like, it can be anything, which is
Yeah.
a really intimidating way to say something. Like,
Yep.
whatever you want, it can be
Yeah.
this. And it was just
Yeah.
like, I don't even know where to start. And it just so happened about 6 months to a year prior, one of my
Mm-hmm.
friends who I met through a different program, um, Brianna Andrews, she created a book called Learning is Resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all about like Indigenous traditions. It was a coloring book that she had made talking about her culture and the Mi'kmaq people. And I thought it was so interesting to see education brought into an activity book in like a coloring
Yeah.
book. And part of me was just like, she's onto something. Like, this is it. Like, this is a way
Mm-hmm.
that you get people who are in cities, super disconnected from nature, to
Mm-hmm.
start engaging with it in like a small, very tangible way. And this was also like peak pandemic time. So like
Yeah.
everybody was looking for an activity to do, and like
Yeah.
coloring was coming back. It was a huge thing of like de-stress, do a coloring page. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
cool. De-stress with my coloring page and also care about the environment. Um,
Yeah.
so it's a 40-page activity book filled with crosswords, word searches, spot the difference pages, coloring pages, and writing throughout it, talking about Indigenous water warriors. So Josephine Madman, who unfortunately passed away, I think in 2019, and her granddaughter Autumn Peltier, who are like very big conservationists, especially for water. And
Mm-hmm.
Autumn's done absolutely incredible work in
Mm-hmm.
that space. And so it was highlighting them, but also talking about like what we can do as individuals, like what can I
Mm-hmm.
do as an individual in a city who has clean access to clean drinking water every single day, like what can
Yeah.
I do to like conserve water, to be more conscious about the impact that I'm having on these waterways. So it kind of brought all of that together, and then it absolutely like exploded one day, and I thought like because I thought I'm going to make a book, I'm going to get 130 physical copies published.
Mm-hmm.
It'll take like 5 years to get rid of that many books. I'm probably going to have to like stand on a street corner somewhere being like, please take this from me. Please.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it was the complete opposite. I couldn't keep them. I think I have 2 copies left, and that's just like for myself to go back and be like, maybe we should have a proofreader for the writing because there's definitely some errors in this. And just like reminders of it, of the work. But it like got reshared on Instagram by like Oceanwise, by a couple other organizations, and now like there's an online copy on my website,
Uh-huh.
which has like over like 500 downloads at this point. Like people just keep going there because I ran out of physical copies.
Yeah.
Um, And then at Carleton University, there's a an organization called Indigenous Futures Youth Partnership,
Yeah.
and they work with different Indigenous communities. And one specifically is like the Sioux Lookout. And so one of their PhD students reached out to me when she saw the book and was
Uh-huh.
like, "Hey, we want to make a book that's all about like maternal health and water because that's a very common theme, especially like in Indigenous communities. Like the water is feminine, so is like Mother Earth. Um, so going back to that, and so I actually made them a whole bunch of custom pages that all got put
Mm-hmm.
together in a booklet and sent out to the lookout. So there's physical copies there with activities for folks to do, like after
Mm-hmm.
giving birth, spending time with their new babies, and all of that. And then the project kind of just kept expanding from there. I got asked to speak at a couple different conferences about it. I had people reaching out for me to do graphic design, which like before would have been like, absolutely not. I can draw like a circle. But now they were like, well, we've seen your work and we want it. It's like, okay, it
Yeah.
won't just be a
Yeah.
circle, I promise. So it just like kept expanding. And
Uh-huh.
then I had the opportunity to go back with Oceanwise in their newest cohort of Ocean
Mm-hmm.
Bridge and like talk about the book and then talk about like community engagement and how to plan a project. And I've just been like super busy with it, which is like crazy to think because I
Mm-hmm.
thought, this is going to go into the black hole of the internet. Nobody's going to care. And it was like completely the opposite reaction, which I could not be more grateful for. Like, I'm so glad that people care and like want
Yeah.
to see it and use it. Um, and then like we had Girl Guides of Canada. Like I had different units that reached out to
Mm-hmm.
me, asked for copies of the book, asked to come in and do workshops with them. Um, so it just kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad
Mm-hmm.
people love it. But like, there's so many errors in that book. Like, please, we got to put it to rest for a little bit.
Oh, but what I was going to say is like, I don't think it's even at this point, it's not even about the physical copy of the book. It's about the ideas and the passion behind. And like, I sometimes think that it's like, I go back and like, I listen to the first couple episodes of Pangolin and I'm like, "Mm, okay, this is the prototype. This is the idea. This is the concept. But it's not about that one 40-minute episode or about that one book or whatever. It's the ideas that those things put in people's heads, I think, is the most important thing. And like the doors it opens for you then to go and speak to these like young women and like to speak to these communities and like provide like it's fantastic because it's like, yeah, the physical book may have touched a certain number of people. The digital books probably touched a larger number of people, but the ideas in those books will have spread to an even further number of people that somehow you'll never know, which is an unfortunate thing, but at the same time, like, you have the satisfaction of knowing that, oh well, maybe there's a spelling mistake here, but ultimately the wave that has, keep it water themed, the wave that has started is hopefully like quite a big one. And yeah, it's yeah, I would say, yeah, it's a couple mistakes here or there, it's fine.
There's also mistakes in the word search, but the online copy is the most updated. So it's got like
Mhm.
a few different versions. Once we saw those mistakes, it was just like the physical copies where it's like, whoa, we can't really fix it. Like, I'm sorry, it's printed. People will
Yeah.
enjoy it. It'll give them a good laugh, hopefully.
Uh, no, it's fine. It's fine. No, and it's such a good project. Like, yeah, it's fantastic, and I think that's kind of the project of yours that I knew most about, kind of coming into the interview, and kind of like, because I think it is the one that I guess like you have like started the ball rolling in a way, almost of like, this is the first big one. And I think it's the one that we talked about most, I guess, last year when we were at the conference, because I think when we met in Tucson, as I mentioned, and like when you're at a conference, I think you have 2 minutes to pitch like, this is what I do. And when you have a diversity of projects like you do, the book was the one, I was the first one that I kind of heard about. And so yeah, it's really interesting, really interesting, and I'm glad now that everybody else here will have heard about it and hopefully go and download it, and do the word search and all these other things. But yes, I think it also leads nicely into other things that I wanted to ask you about, because like, that's the one I knew most about. And selfishly, listeners, I'm going to ask about the ones I don't know about now. So it's my show. I can ask about what I would like. Um, and so some of the other ones that I'd written down to chat about were kind of, you have the Pollinating Positivity, which I think is an excellent title, the River Aware Challenge, Climate Connections Zine, so many things that you've done. And so could we start with like Pollinating Positivity? Because I think that's a fun idea and like a great title, if nothing else, if like a fantastic title.
Thank you.
Like,
I
yeah.
work very hard on the titles. Even if the project is not successful, the like branding, excellent.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So tell us about that. What is it? What went on there?
Yeah, so it was the beginning of like last spring to like
Uh-huh.
mid-spring. Um and like everybody was coming out of like that seasonal affective disorder
Yeah.
kind of coma that we are in Canada, of like it's still cold, it's gross outside.
Mm-hmm.
Don't really want to be outside. And I had come across this company that makes pass cards, which stands for
Mm-hmm.
panic, anxiety, stress, um, stress something. PASS. Like it's an
Yeah.
acronym, not just a word. And I saw the cards and I said, oh, like this is really good. They have one for like eco anxiety and eco grief. And I thought it was really interesting to see that because, like,
Mm-hmm.
it had started to gain traction in like workshops and what people were talking about, but it wasn't something that like necessarily would have come up a lot of people saying
Mm-hmm.
like how do you deal with eco anxiety and eco grief. Like it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like a conversation that most people were having. So I saw the cards and I knew immediately that I wanted to do a project using them and distributing them because it's a small business here in Canada that makes them. And I was like, this is like a great resource. People need to see it. So it was like mid spring, and I saw that also people were in their gardens raking up all of the leaves, all of the dead branches, everything. And immediately I was like, oh my God, like this is killing all of like the bee habitat. Like all of the little bugs who
Yeah.
come out right now, like everybody's cleaning everything up and that's what they depend on the most. So the project was also around like educating people of like, I know your garden looks really messy right now and it's starting to get warmer, but please just keep it messy for a little bit longer so that these like organisms have a chance to thrive and survive. And then we were able to get seeds in as well. So it was like, okay, let's talk about the connection between like gardening, mental health, climate anxiety, climate grief, and also like protecting these organisms. And so I got
Mm-hmm.
a grant where I was able to distribute 200 of these kits, and which had the cards, we had like little bags for people to carry things in, seeds,
Mm-hmm.
and a whole bunch of other stuff, just talking about the importance of pollinators. And
Mm-hmm.
it was really successful. We distributed all of the kits. People in our community were like super excited to learn that, like, even if their garden is messy, it's a good thing. So don't worry about your
Mm-hmm.
neighbors. Like, they're doing great. Um, and so like that ended up being super successful, which was really nice to see, especially getting younger people out into gardens. Like there's a whole bunch of community gardens here in Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
And so people were excited to plant like wildflowers and different things that would increase um, the amount of food that pollinators had. So it was talking about like native species as well. And then it got people outside because it was like, yeah, the winters are mostly gone, still a little chilly, but like let's enjoy the weather while it's here. Um,
Uh-huh.
so that was like a pretty big project, and that was also funded by Rising Youth Grants, which is now Sprout Ideas.
Uh-huh.
They've like since undergone a name change and a program change, but they essentially were just redistributing funds in micro
Mm-hmm.
grants to people all across Canada, which was really interesting. And I knew I wanted to work with them, so having the opportunity to like run this project and work with them was really
Mm-hmm.
interesting as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's I think it's something as well that, like, I think a lot of people, everyone who is lucky enough to live in a space where they have a garden and like have these spaces around them that they can keep clean. I think a lot of the time, like, yeah, there's this sometimes misconception that like just by like having a perfectly pristine garden, you have provided a space for wildlife. And in a way, yes, some wildlife can thrive in these spaces. Garden birds can come in if you leave things, and like sometimes you'll find like hedgehogs here in Scotland, or like little things running around, squirrels and stuff. Like you'll find these things, but we forget sometimes about the little guys, the invertebrates, the things that are the creepy little things that people don't like as much get forgotten about. Like they just are like, oh, okay, well, like we don't really like them, so we'll clear up this. We don't really notice if they're not there. But they're the most important and some of the most wonderful and most interesting things. And so yeah, by like leaving these like little spaces, it's so like it's such a brilliant idea to like teach people while also providing practical things, while also focusing on, so it's like a multi-angled kind of way into this, and it's really like the levels behind it are so clever. Like it's really good, a really great idea. And like, what do you know kind of like what any of that, like did you get response from people, like how they felt about it afterwards? Like what was the kind of reaction to it?
Yeah, we had quite a number of people reach out to me afterwards, like through the
Hmm.
platform, saying like, "Oh, this was like super awesome. I got to spend time with like my young ones. Like we planted
Hmm.
the seeds. This is how much they've grown in a whole month.
Hmm.
Like look at this." And then we also had two individuals reach out to me being like, "This is the first time that anybody's giving me like a usable resource to like deal with
Hmm.
my eco anxiety." And like that was probably the most impactful message that I've ever received of like
Uh-huh.
finally like the things that I'm trying to do with folks, like it's hitting, like it's working.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
especially cuz like here in Canada, I think it's specifically in Ottawa, like it's really easy to feel like the burden of climate change. Like I
Hmm.
remember as a kid like going out on Halloween in like my snow coat because it was so cold outside that like you couldn't just be outside in a costume, like you had to bundle up. There was already snow on the
Yeah.
ground. And like even as an adult right now, like we were lucky this year it snowed once before Halloween, but like that was probably the first time I had seen it in almost a decade. And so it's like
Yeah.
you notice these changes. And especially like last year we have the Rideau Canal, which is like the largest skate rink in like all of Canada. It's
Hmm.
huge. um I think it's like 14 plus kilometers long of like skating. And last year it didn't open because it was so warm all winter that the ice didn't form properly. So it wasn't safe. And it was just like, here's all of these issues that people can feel of like climate and eco
Hmm.
anxiety and grief of like, how do I deal with this system? Especially when like the politicians at Parliament Hill aren't listening to me. I feel like I have no
Hmm.
power in this situation. And like
Hmm.
finally we were able to give people resources where they're like, I don't feel as hopeless, which
Yeah.
even just one person saying that is a huge win. So
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, and being so open with it as well, I think, is really important, because I think it's something that we all think about and all have, and like it's nice that they were willing to share like back to you. I was terrified about this, or I was nervous about this, or I had this thing that was really concerning me, and now I feel equipped because of something that you have. That's like that's what really matters. That's the like, oh, that's yeah, that's really nice, really nice. And hopefully, like, yeah, I like the idea of practical guidance and practical equipment, not practical but like practical guidance and practical like stuff as well. Because yeah, a lot of the time environmental education is done in a way where it's like you come and sit in a classroom, we tell you about it, and then you go away, and you kind of fester in it, and sometimes on the thoughts of like, oh no, what about this,
yeah.
that, and the next thing. But providing the skill is so wonderful, so wonderful.
Yeah, and the cards were just like business card sized and they came on like
Hmm.
a little key ring and you could put it like in your pocket. You could have it
Yeah.
in your backpack. It was always somewhere that can be accessible for you, and you can also like take it apart and just take the cards that work best for
Hmm.
you and that you need.
Yeah.
And so I think having it be something small that you can continually have with you really made it accessible to a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. And that's the thing about, yeah, making all of these things accessible as well is like, yeah, the most important. Most important. Oh, I'm just continuously like, do you know what's like simultaneously amazing? slightly frustrating for me as a podcast host. I'm like, I want to talk about all of these individual things for like an hour, but I'm now like, there's so much that I want to talk about because you have done so many other things that I'm like, I also have to move on. So it's this weird balance of like, I just want to talk about this, but we'll like, oh, it's so amazing. It's so amazing. I guess though, next up of things that are going to make me want to talk about for an hour, was the River Aware Challenge that I wanted to ask about. Could you tell us about that as well?
Yeah, so I was a youth water leader with Ottawa Riverkeeper,
Uh
which
huh.
is a nonprofit organization, part of like the larger watershed protection
Mm-hmm.
NGOs. And they had this program. It ran a couple of times. I don't think it happened this summer just because of like funding issues. But essentially, it was a space to bring together about 30 youth in Ottawa, learning about like our watershed, going to like Gatineau
Mm-hmm.
Park, doing like a egg release for like snapping turtles, like looking at all of those systems. We went to the Museum of Nature, so there was tons of activities talking about like our watershed
Mm-hmm.
ecosystem as a whole, not just like the water in it itself, because
Mm-hmm.
the ecosystem health is going to be a big part of like the river's health. Um,
Yeah.
so looking at that, and again, it's another one of these programs where you volunteer your time and then they ask you to do a community engagement project. And I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I wanted to do something that would be good for like adults and kids, or just
Mm-hmm.
kids, or like young adults, something that would be like interesting. And so I landed on like this challenge of, okay, let's put together a book of like
Mm-hmm.
10 activities, and you'll pick however many activities you want to pick. You'll go
Mm-hmm.
through it, and it'll teach you about the impacts of like salt on our roadways. Because here we have ice all winter, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not cold enough that salt's ineffective. Like, salt is very effective here. So they
Yeah.
throw salt all over the place all the time, like huge, huge amounts. Not really caring about the fact that like a huge amount of salt going into a freshwater ecosystem is not good for any of the things that need the freshwater.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which seems self-explanatory, but in terms of like the city
Mm-hmm.
planning and liability, they're like, it's too much of a risk if we don't put this much salt down. Because like the city doesn't want to get sued essentially. Which, fair, I get it. You have to cover all
Uh-huh.
bases, but I don't think we need to put this much salt down. Anyways,
Yeah.
so it
Mm-hmm.
had a whole bunch of different activities to get people looking at water system health, to
Yeah.
learn about it, to learn about densities, because water is one of those things, like, it's such a weird fluid. It's like it expands when it's frozen, which usually doesn't happen to frozen things. They contract. And then it also has like a sticky type of property to it. That's why you get little
Mm-hmm.
bubbles, why it can like move in funny ways. And so I wanted to tell people about this because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we just take it so much for granted. And especially here in Canada with like the most fresh waters in all of the world, basically combined. Like, there's so many lakes. You thought the Great Lakes were big. We got two more that are just as large, three more that are just as large, like all
Mm-hmm.
over the place. And so, like, we're surrounded by water in every facet. We are basically all coastline, the Atlantic,
Yeah.
Pacific, and Arctic Ocean. And yet, nobody's really talking about like water just in general. So, I thought it was really important to get people, especially in Ottawa, where we have three rivers, getting people to think about it and look at it and be
Mm-hmm.
intrigued by it.
Mm-hmm.
So I ran the project, and then I also was able to get a grant from Oceanwise. Because I was like, hey guys, remember me? Remember when I ran the other project?
Yep.
Do you want to like fund some other work I'm doing? And they said yes, which we love.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she did good the first time as well.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I was like, come on, guys, please, just a little more. And so I was able to get patches because I figured, what's one thing that people love? They love stuff. They love patches. Patches are fun to put on things. They're like
Yeah.
relatively low cost, easy to ship out, not a huge carbon footprint on them, pretty accessible. So I was able to get patches that said River were challenge and then 2022 on them. And
Yeah.
so everybody who completed the challenge or part of the challenge or downloaded it, emailed me about it, I was able to mail one out to them. Um,
Uh-huh.
so we had like 100 participants in the program, which was good. And I was
Mhm.
also able to further extend that out by um, going and working again with Girl Guides of Canada in different groups. So leaders would ask me to come in. They're like, hey, we saw your challenge. You want to do it? Are you available Wednesday night to come and facilitate it? I said, yeah,
Mhm.
sure. Me with like a group of like 25 7 to like 12-year-olds who are screaming around, like running,
Yep.
high energy,
Yep.
can't focus for longer than 30 seconds. I would
Mhm.
love to. It'll be great. Um, but I kid, a lot of these kids were like absolutely incredible and super interested and had wonderful questions and wanted to learn more. So they were really a pleasure to work with, just a lot of energy at times.
Mhm.
So that was really awesome to see. And then that just allowed me to further develop connections with Ottawa Riverkeeper, which has been really
Yeah.
useful, especially because like they're such a great organization here in town. So hopefully some other collaborations with them in the future as well.
Hmm. That's yeah, no, that's fantastic, and I think yeah, the what was it? I believe that children are our future. Teach them well, and they will lead the way. Like Whitney was onto something there. Like they may scream and they may run, but they are also the best. Like they are the best, and they are the right audience for something like this. Because they once they get their mindset on something, it's fantastic to see how it can these tiny little things that you plant can propagate in their minds and it's good practice to get the next generation to appreciate the spaces around them and yeah that's wonderful. And again, nice that they trusted you enough after the last time. There's repeat business happening. This is good. This is good. um and yeah, I guess that leads on to the last one I wanted to ask about, and just going through your CV of things that you've done, which and I am intrigued by specifically because I have never produced one formally, but I have been made to do zine making in university and things where you have clippings and stuff you can use to make it. Like I've never made a proper zine. So I wanted to know a bit about the Climate Connections Zine as well, because I think that's such an interesting idea. And looking through it, I was like, this is really good. This is really, really good. Could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so I got a grant from Youth Action Now in Ottawa, and
Uh-huh.
they said you can have, I can't even remember how much money it was at this point, but they were like, you can have this grant, work with as many people as you can. And like part of their stipulations of the grant is that you can't give honorarium. So I was like, okay, I want to use the grant to at least give people something. Um,
Yeah.
and so the idea behind it was to get people talking about their relation to climate, their
Hmm.
relation to like just nature in general, and climate anxiety and grief. Because I feel like with the weight of the world and how things have been progressing,
Yeah.
it's definitely a topic that needs to be discussed more,
Hmm.
especially like last summer there was wildfires. 2023 is set to be the is like going to be the hottest year on record according to the projections and all of that, and knowing that that's like a common theme from year to year, like every year that I live, the next year is actually the hottest year on record. Like that's kind of insane. And so like there's a lot of fear with that. I think there's also a lot of like guilt
Yeah.
that people feel of like, as a human being taking up these resources, like I feel so guilty for contributing to these larger
Hmm.
systems. But at the same time, I'm not spilling like thousands of gallons of oil into the Gulf of Mexico. So like,
Hmm.
at least I'm doing my part to recycle. But some people aren't. Um
Hmm.
and so I think it was just a space for youth in Ottawa to be able to connect on that topic and like actually have like a creative outlet, because I think there's a
Hmm.
lot of use of art in climate activism spaces, and using art to like deal with these complicated emotions of like, I don't know how to put a word to this, but like I know how it feels when I draw it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
like having an outlet where people can do that, I think was really important. So we had 37 people submit to the zine, and I was like, oh my goodness, I wish this grant was larger because I can't accept everyone, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we were able to accept 20 of them, which was
Mhm.
excellent. And so it was, some people had done like art forms of like painting. A lot of it was photography. There was some
Mhm.
poems interspersed in it, and it was really getting people to like explore their connection to climate, to these emotions, and like
Mhm.
giving space for like somebody to say like, this is something that's troubling me, and like
Yeah.
I want to put it out there because I know other people are feeling it too.
Mhm.
um so then we made the zine. I was able to like use some of the funding to like get it like physical copies printed on some
Mhm.
really nice cardstock, so it's like sturdy, will hold up to the test of time, which
Mhm.
was super exciting. And so everybody who participated in the zine was either like mailed out a copy or they picked one up in person from me. And then
Mhm.
other copies were like mailed out across the country and put in coffee shops in Ottawa
Mhm.
of people to like look and explore this. There's a lot of really pretty pictures in there. There's like absolutely incredible artwork that people have done.
Mhm.
Like so, so, so talented. And so it's a visually appealing piece to talk about some really heavy themes. And I
Yeah.
think like having those spaces of like, it's okay to feel like the whole world is collapsing on you, to feel that things are tough and difficult and not know how to
Mhm.
move through it. And like it's so necessary to like express those emotions and not hold on to that, because like the more we hold it in, the more it like wells up inside of us, like the more
Mhm.
challenging it will be to deal with it later. So like having these healthy coping mechanisms and outlets where we can share about our emotions, even if it's like
Mhm.
not the happiest thing, I think is more critical now than ever.
Mhm.
So that was really great. And then when we got all the copies in, we had a huge celebration picnic on a
Yeah.
like a wonderful lawn. It was nice sunny day, kind of windy, but beautiful day. And then people brought their friends, brought their family members, and it was just
Mhm.
like a space to like celebrate everything of like, yeah, sometimes feelings suck, but like look at the community that we can like come together, and
Yeah.
like knowing that you're not alone in this, of like
Yeah.
you just had a beautiful art piece saying that like the whole world is like sucking the life out of you, and there's like 10 people standing right here who have those exact same feelings, who want to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
And so like having that space for community I think is super important, and not just having it like virtually with people, because I think in a way that
Mhm.
can be inaccessible. um but like actually getting people together now that we're able to do so, was
Mhm.
something that was really important to me. And so I'm very grateful that we were able to do it with this project.
Yeah. Mhm. And that's like, yeah, it's nice as well when you have a something that's been produced that's like a, I guess not in isolation, but like people have put into this all things that they've done by themselves to bring everything together to see it in like in like all to everything together is like must be so special. Must be so special.
Yeah. And it was really interesting because like I knew it was some of the people from like my own network that had submitted, but then
Yeah.
there was like complete strangers that found
Mhm.
the post who applied
Yeah.
to it. And it was just like, so I knew some of the people who were there and who were going to be at the picnic. But
Mhm.
then I also like got to meet all of these like other really interesting, cool people who are like
Mhm.
passionate about this topic and who wanted to share on it, and
Yeah.
really like foster those connections. So that was super interesting to have, because I feel like a lot of the time when we do projects on like a small local scale, it's usually like the same people
Mhm.
who are attending, the same people you see every time are going to be showing up. But
Yeah.
here it was people who I had no idea about, who were like
Yeah.
getting engaged with this work, that I think was like made it even more meaningful.
Yeah. That's yeah. And it just goes to show the reach of these things where it like starts as an Instagram account of an idea, and then people follow and share these social media things, or they follow and they formally retweet whatever it is now, I don't know, but they retweet, or they like do this or they do that, and it reaches new people, and the ideas spread and grow as they did with like the book and as they did with the pollinators and as they did like, it's so nice to see like these consist. It's interesting to think about all these projects kind of in tandem because it is like this like similar themes emerging across all of them, but in like very different, powerful ways is really, really nice and interesting. Really, really nice and interesting. And I think it puts me onto the really challenging question for you, which is what's the next thing? Because you've done all these amazing things. Do you already have an idea? Are you going? Are you working on something? Yep.
Yeah, so I was Ocean Wise, love them.
Yes.
I was
Yep.
in their Eco Action Accelerator program,
Uh huh.
which technically the timeline meant that my funding and everything had to be spent by the end of this month, which is November of 2023, which is
Yeah.
I told them, I'm still working on stuff. It's just not going to happen on this timeline. And they gave me a
Hmm.
wonderful extension, which I'm very grateful for. It'll be
Yep.
good work. It's just not done.
Yeah.
So it's actually going to be another 40-page coloring book this time. And it's called Coloring for Conservation.
Uh huh.
And so it deals with all species at risk throughout Canada and different environments. So we have some in like subtundra, subarctic. We have boreal forest environments
Hmm.
over to like the plains and taiga. So there's plants, animals, you
Hmm.
name it. It's all coming together and really talking about the Species at Risk Act in Canada
Yeah.
and the work that it's doing, and like the part that we can all play in conservation. So
Hmm.
almost
That's
done.
so exciting. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. Like, no, that's so fantastic. And like, it's yeah, I will be very excited to see it when it does come out because I think yeah, it will be like interesting. And I think it also sets up a question I'm going to ask you in a second because if it's about 40 amazing things, there's going to be underappreciated weird things in there, and I'm going to ask you about your favorite of those things in just a second. So this is your pre-warning before we get to that question to start cutting down the 40 because we can't sit here for another 3 hours while we go through 40 species. um but yeah, I guess like no, it's so exciting and I can't wait to see how it turns out because it's going to be like if it is anything like any of the other projects we have talked about, it's going to be fantastic and interesting and amazing. And yeah, I'm so excited to see what happens. Um, and I guess speaking of the future, unfortunately, that is an indication to everybody that we are reaching the end of our time, and we're kind of getting towards the end of the interview. But there are three questions that I ask every every guest. They get the same ones, and it's nice to see the variation of things. So I'm going to ask you them now, just to wrap up. The first of which, and I think this is actually going to be really interesting hearing what you have to say, because I think it would be interesting to kind of frame this, I guess, around one of the key themes of the whole discussion is this kind of idea of eco anxiety and nervousness about the future and all of these things. And I always ask people, like, what advice do you have for people who want to be more involved in conservation or more like active in nature kind of spaces and these things? But I guess the way that I kind of maybe would frame it to you slightly differently would be like, if someone came to you for advice about eco anxiety and these things, like what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think I can speak to like my own eco anxiety in this. I think what
Hmm.
really makes me feel like hopeless and just like overwhelmed is when I
Hmm.
don't feel like I can do anything about it. And
Yeah.
so even just having that one little thing that you can do where it's like,
Hmm.
I'm going to donate $10 a month to this organization that I care about that's doing great
Yeah.
conservation work, or I'm going to volunteer like 5 hours a month for
Hmm.
this, or I'm going to send an email to my MP so that they can
Yeah.
care about these things, so that these policies matter, and to share all of that. Where like I'm going to sign a petition to like save grizzly bears and protect their
Hmm.
land. Like so many little things. And I think really focusing like on that little action that you can do to be like, I'm not helpless in this situation, even though
Hmm.
it might feel like that. Like there are little things that I can do. And
Yeah.
looking for those nuggets that like
Yeah.
appear every now and again. Because like there's so many great organizations out there doing so much wonderful work.
Hmm.
And they're always looking for volunteers. They're always looking for people to show up to their events. So
Hmm.
really tapping into that.
Hmm. I think that's yeah. That's the thing is like, and I think like I will, yeah, on this show, I think I am like, I try and be a positive force and I try and drive things. But if it is, it's something that like, even the positive forces, they run their batteries into the ground sometimes and they kind of go like, I use this much energy on the podcast, or I use it when I'm producing art or talking to people about these things. You run yourself down a little bit. And I think you do have those moments where you go, why am I doing this? This is bad. Oh no. And but remembering those, there's always those little actions you can take, or that time you can donate, or even the scale of the stuff that you already do. If you're kind of like taking the time, even if you're feeling anxious to do these little things, you're already doing something, which is so fantastic and such a big step when it comes to things like eco anxiety and these sorts of things. Is yeah, it's yeah, such yeah, perfect advice, perfect advice. And also, if you want to do more, go and download all of these wonderful books that are up there, do interesting things, and even doing that and educating yourself more about these things through projects that are going on can make such a difference as well. Just to bring it back to some promo for you, just to shamelessly plug your work.
Thank you.
Um, and the next question, of course, I preempted it there. What is your favorite underappreciated species? Plant, animal, it could be anything. Why? What is it?
So it's actually a very specific pod of an animal.
Okay.
So beluga whales in Canada are a
Hmm.
species at risk. And in
Yeah.
the St. Lawrence, there's a pod of beluga whales that live there. I think
Yeah.
it's about 800 organisms.
Yeah.
And I want to say it was in like the late 2010s, a
Yeah.
narwhal from the Arctic came down and got lost in the St. Lawrence. And
Uh
the
huh.
belugas have adopted it. So it lives with the belugas, it hangs out with them, like they're all friends. And like, I think it has a lot to say about like nature and like the emotions that animals have, even if like we're not necessarily like thinking about it, because like realistically, like I don't think of any other species that would be like, hey, complete stranger, come join us. And like here are these belugas who are like, my guy, you are lost, you are
Hmm.
far from home, but we can be your new home. And like that
Oh.
cohabitation and like adoption of it, which I think is like so unique and so wonderful to see, that like big shout out to the belugas in the St. Lawrence, because like they are so wonderful.
Oh, that is, they are the whale Timon and Pumbaa. Like
Yeah.
they are like, We'll rescue you. Don't you worry. You come with us."
Yeah.
Oh, that is incredible. And like belugas generally, when you said belugas, I was like, I'm in already. I don't need to know any more. Like it can be anything. I don't mind. Like whatever. But then the twist, the extra like, oh, that is actually, and it, yeah, it goes. I think we can. I always think we can learn a lot from nature, and another proof of concept is that we don't all have to be the same. But if somebody needs you, reach out a hand, bring
Yeah.
them in. Like, oh, I like love that. I love that so much, and I'm gonna go. Once this is done, I mean, I'm recording another podcast immediately after this. But once that second podcast is done, I will be hanging up that call and spending the rest of my evening looking up these belugas and probably gently sobbing into a pillow of like, oh, so
Yeah,
sweet.
there's like photos and videos, and so there's
Uh
actually like
huh.
a whole marine center in Tadoussac, and like part of it is just dedicated to this narwhal who's been adopted by the
Oh,
belugas. Yeah,
that's
really cute. Love.
oh, 10 out of 10 pick.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 pick. I love it. Yeah, great choice. Great choice. And I feel like I'm going to have to contact someone from that center for a full episode about that
Oh,
because I need to know
absolutely.
more. I
Yeah.
need to know more. Um, and then the last question, of course, sadly, last question is, where can people keep up to date with your work? Because we've talked about so many amazing things. You have so much going on. Where can people go? What can people follow? What can they do?
Yeah, so at Create Change Collective, all one word on Instagram. It's the
Yeah.
most up to date information that you'll get. My
Hmm.
website is usually a month and a half behind, mainly because
Hmm.
I kind of forget about it. And then one day in a panic, go, I haven't updated this. people don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
So, but usually it's up to date, especially when like big things launch, like books.
Yeah.
So it'll be up to date for the launch of Coloring for Conservation and all of that. But the
Mhm.
Instagram is like the best way to get in contact as well. Just send me a DM. Happy to chat with folks.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. And I'll put links to everything we've mentioned in the description of the episode. So if people are wondering about a specific project, I'll put links to the website, they can go and find it, or like I'll put links to the specific books and things that people can go, and the Instagram and everywhere else that people can go and follow all of these things and do all these things. Because yes, I fully endorse this message, and like I'm so glad we've had a chance to talk about it because it's fantastic and brilliant. Um and yeah, and also, while I'm gonna just slide in there, while they're down there, there's also going to be links to our social media. So if you're on Instagram anyway, you might as well click onto @Pangolin Podcast or whatever. Just go on, give us a follow while you're there as well. If you've come from the the Create Change Collective side and you're wanting to learn more, we're there as well on all of those social medias, and you can subscribe to the podcast and do all that fun stuff. Leave us a nice review. You know, all the classic podcasty things as well.
Like, comment,
Um,
and subscribe.
that's the one. That is the one. And I'm waiting for my moment to do the full like. This episode is sponsored by da 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 da. Like I feel like I have a voice for it, but no
You
one is.
do.
I need to just get out there and reach out to someone to give me money to do that because I would love it. I would love it.
BetterHelp is usually like
Mhm.
sponsoring things. I get it all the time. I don't know if it's targeted at me specifically or if they're
I
just
get
trying to
it as
help
well.
everyone.
Yeah.
BetterHelp, if you're listening,
Mhm.
come on.
Yeah, I'll take any. Honestly, at this point, like, yeah, as long as you have some kind of eco agenda sponsorer, then
Yes.
I can get behind that. I'm not going to be doing anything for brands that I'm like, mm,
Yeah,
okay,
fair.
but yeah, um, no. But on that note, now that I've offended half of the potential sponsors, I just want to say a huge thank you to you for your time, for all of your like concepts that you have brought to fruition because they've made such a difference. They are so interesting. They are wonderful. They are fantastic. Thank you for answering all of my questions. Thank you for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been fantastic to chat to you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. And it's so nice to catch up with you and like see all the great work and where the pangolin has like gone throughout time. Like
Yes.
even just in a year, like your stuff with the botanical gardens and like all of that. Like it's wonderful to see just like your success. So very grateful for the opportunity to be here and to catch up with you.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, look at us. Look at us. Is
Cheers.
that what's that? Is it the two Paul Rudds being like, look at us, look at us? Like who'd have thought? Look at us. No, thank you. No, thank you so much. Because yeah, it's been a weird year since we first met of like PhD and things, but it's just been fantastic, and it's so nice to catch up with you as well. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And before we turn this into a just personal discussion that the listeners don't even have to listen to, we can have a nice good chat off air. But before we do that, thank you so much, listeners, for listening. Thank you for your time. Please go and check out all of the projects we mentioned throughout the episode. Do all the wonderful things that I asked. Thank you, please. And yeah, please come back next week where we'll have even more amazing, amazing, interesting stuff from our amazing guests. I will not reveal who it is yet because I haven't decided the order these are being released, but I have some in mind, so they're all good. So whoever it is, be ready. And yes, until next time, goodbye, everyone.